everyone! We just made it to Lloydminster and we are going to be interviewing
Caroline Parke, a musician here in Lloydminster. So let's go. Hey everyone, here we are today in Lloydminster speaking with Caroline Parke, singer, songwriter, and country mama. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm really excited to be here in Lloydminster. So we'll start with you just telling us a bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Caroline Parke. I live on a farm. My husband, when we met, he was into oil field work and working in an office. And after we had our third child, he started taking over his father's ranching operation. So it's a big lifestyle change because he was gone from the house like every day, and then all of a sudden he was home more. So it was a lot better because I had 3 kids in 3 years, like back to back. So I really needed the help, and it was at the perfect time. So yeah, I've been living on the farm since 2012, and I have 4 kids, and they're ages 6 to 11. So.
And how do you like living on a farm?
You know, it's funny because when I had a job once upon a time, and I told all my colleagues my plan, and they were like, really? But you're so social. And I was like, it's going to be great. And a few colleagues said, well, I know you've always talked about living off the land. And I was like, really? I don't remember talking about that. But apparently I did. I told a few people that. So yeah, I think part of me is like living out the dream that I had. And then the other part of me is like, man, it can be lonely on the farm sometimes. Yeah, because you don't leave the house every day, or if you do, you don't leave your property every day, right? So
I guess there's a lot more space that is your property.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
You have to trek a little further.
Yeah, but to like actually go and interact with other people that are not family members, you have to, make a concerted effort there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you also mentioned you have a couple kids. How is it having kids?
Yeah, that was also like, a big transition. And so I had the lifestyle change of going from the city to the country and being employed to not being employed, and then to having kids. And it was really interesting. I wouldn't take it back for sure. Like it's been the most enriching experience of my life for, hands down. And I did lots of traveling before I had my family, so that's really good too. But yeah, it's really cool to introduce them to the world, and also to, you have to find healthy ways to cope when you're stressed out, right? And that's like whether you have kids or not. But anyhow, so I had this stress, and then I was finding ways to cope. And before I had gotten married, I'd classify myself as a painter, more abstracts, but like I painted and I played old country guitar, and those were my 2 little hobbies. And then after I had kids, I felt like I had to kind of choose what I was going to do. I didn't feel like I could do both. And painting is like, you need more than 20 minutes to do it. You have to have setup time, cleanup time. You have to have a dedicated room, especially if you have toddlers. You need to have a door that closes. And I was like, you know what? Just forget the painting. I'll just play guitar for now. And so I did that until 2016, and then I kind of dropped the guitar like a hot potato, and I picked up the fiddle because I was going to these old timer jams, and there was all like 14 guitars in a circle, right? And there's like 1 fiddler, and like maybe a banjo player. And so I thought, you know what? Here I am. I got my 3 kids. I got my, picnic basket, and then I got the blanket, and then I got my binder and my guitar and a diaper bag, and I'm like, I don't think I can do this too regularly. So I thought fiddles are way smaller, and you memorize everything, so you don't really need a binder.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why I started on that. And I kind of just went off YouTube and started teaching myself on my grandpa's fiddle. And so I was like deep into the fiddle for 3 years. And then we had a issue on our farm in the middle of the night with some trespassers. And so it was a messy situation. We got a call from the neighbor saying, there's people in my yard. Can you come scare them away? We've called the cops, but they're going to be 45 minutes. That's what it's like living rural, right? You call for an ambulance or a policeman, you're not going to get that anytime soon. So anyhow, my husband, he went to go scare them away, or maybe see how many there were or something, right? And I stood in the kitchen quietly, and I kind of watched his taillights because it wasn't too far. Like I could watch his taillights go straight to the neighbors. And so after a few minutes, I looked up and there's someone sitting in my vehicle with the ball cap on, and I thought, oh no. So I called him, and he patched me into a group call with his dad. Everyone's waking up here at 2:30 in the morning, right? We have an issue. So anyhow, all the men are like gonna try and deal with it. And so when I got on the phone with him, he said, well, I'm too far away, but Grandpa said, I'll be right there. And he came up the driveway. He scared them away, obviously, because he got out of the vehicle and he kind of cleared the yard. And I went out on the deck and talked to him. And then we saw a vehicle going really slow on the range road. And we thought, oh, it's the getaway car. Because what they do is they drop people off and then they grab things that they can carry and then they pick them up. And so they're like stealing weed whackers or stupid stuff, right? So anyhow, he drove down the driveway and I stood on the deck and I thought, oh, I should call 911 and let them know it's multiple houses. Because as far as the police knew, they were going to this house over here. And I thought they should stop over here because now we have it on our multiple lands, I guess. So anyhow, I dialed 911 and I didn't get to say anything, and I had a knife in my face, and they were hiding in the flower beds or somewhere close by, and they just flew up the stairs at me, and I dropped the phone, and I had a flashlight, and it was like full-on battle. And I know, like, look at, who couldn't believe this, right?
That's terrifying.
So I'm at one point got knocked down. She runs into my house and closes the door. I'm like, my husband's going to fire me for sure, because I got the kids, all 4 kids are asleep in their beds upstairs, like not far. I know. And so I thought this like drug user is like in my house. And that was terrible. So anyhow, all summer I had been complaining to my husband about the deadbolt was misaligned because the hinge was loose. And I was like, you need to fix that, because I'm not going to do that. Let's get your screwdriver and fix it. And he never did. So it was perfect. And so I knew that it wouldn't close and it wouldn't lock. So of course, being a mother, like I've done things since I've become a mother that I would never dream of. I had a leech one time on and I instead of drawing attention to myself and freaking out my kids, I like literally pulled it off my leg and I didn't even say a word.
What a queen. Good for you.
I know, because I'm like, I hate bugs or whatever, but I'm like, who am I, right? You have this new identity when you have little people to protect, right? And so I just like ran to the door and I shouldered the door open, and by the end of it, I jerseyed her. I don't even watch hockey, right? So I jerseyed her. She's bent over. I got the flashlight. I like beat her up, like on her neck and her spine until she dropped her knife and gave up. And like the kids never woke up. I grabbed the knife. I threw it outside into the flower beds. She's sitting on the floor. She's disheveled. She's trying to fix herself. I like turn my back to her. I go through the closet and find like the ugliest hoodie I can find, and I put it around her. It was like a zip-up hoodie. And I help her sit on the bench, and I'm like, are you okay? And I'm thinking like...
You're like, I know you just tried to attack me, but like, I'm sorry, are you okay?
But she's like, don't call the cops. They'll take my kids away again. And I was like, well, we're totally calling the cops because you can't
they definitely should.
You can't try and kill people.
Yeah.
And so she's complaining about her life, and I'm like, well, you're not the first person to make mistakes, and you won't be the last, but you can make better choices. So I don't know how I became this counselor, but it was like I was in shock, right?
Yeah.
And so it was quite something, because I've always felt like I was quite a aggressive, vicious person. Like if I was ever faced with something, I would have no problem like being mean, right? But when it came down to it, it's like you are who you are when you're in a state of shock, right? And so it was pretty interesting. So that was in September. And I think I started writing. I picked up the guitar middle of October after going to 3 different counselors and getting bounced around trying to get trauma therapy. And I don't think I got the therapist that actually helped me through it. I didn't get hooked up with them until middle of December.
Oh, wow.
So it was like pretty rough. My brain was not working. My kids were between the ages of 1 and 6. And so they all talk at the same time. There's 2 people in diapers. I'm like, I would make the meal and put it on the table and walk away and leave my husband with the kids. And I just go in my room and like, I started strumming my guitar and like listening to the different chords and trying to be all zen, right? because you never know what's going to calm you down. And I hadn't played guitar in a long time, so that's how I started playing guitar again. Because I was like big into the fiddle, and like fiddle is like a 20 to 50 year commitment. Like it's not something that you can pick up for 3 years and drop it. Well, most people do drop it.
But sticking through it.
Yeah. It's like a long-term thing. So anyhow, I went back to the guitar and I started writing, and I wrote and wrote and wrote, and I started recording on New Year's Eve at my friend's place that lives an hour and 45 minutes away. He just said, come to the studio. And so he's like this old bachelor, and I would like sleep on the couch and record with him. So it was pretty good.
Musician lifestyle.
Yeah, a little bit. And I'd be gone for like 48 hours, right? And come back and I recorded 6 songs or whatever. And he would work and send me stuff on email. And so anyhow, I just felt like it was like part of my therapy, writing these songs. And I only wrote 2 songs about that incident, and the rest of them were all like me picking beautiful times in my 20s where I was on the beach in Brazil, or I was like walking through the jungle in Guatemala, or whatever. Or like I went to Chicago once for a jazz festival and like just really loved it. And so I would relive these memories, and I kind of re-brought them back to life through these like soft-hearted, happy songs. So I ended up with an album of 15 songs, and it was very surprising for me. And I ordered the CDs, and the email to approve the proofs came the morning of the trial. So I got an email like as I'm sitting to go on trial, like as a witness. I'm in like the
for like the incident.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So this is like, and it was on my wedding anniversary, May 5th.
Oh my god.
It was so crazy. And so I'm like sitting there waiting to my turn to go up on the thing, and I thought, I got the proof. I'm like, this is cool. Like I did some trauma therapy. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm getting the proof for this CD. My experience is going to come to a close, and I will be a whole person after this. And then I can go back to my real life, is what I was essentially thinking, right? And so I did the trial. The lady went to jail, and then my CD got printed. And it was like the next week I was writing music, and I still haven't stopped. And I've been releasing an album every year.
Yay!
So it's been really cool. So that started it was September of 2019 that incident happened. And then of course 2020 brought all those weird changes, and I couldn't perform any of the songs I had written. And so I just thought, I'll just keep writing. And then I started doing music videos. So my second CD, I have quite a few like homemade music videos that I put like videos of the kids on fast forward and showed our farm lifestyle and stuff like that.
That's beautiful.
Oh, it was really surprising. So, pardon me. It was really surprising. So I wouldn't take it back for the world. Like, it was a horrible experience, but now looking at my life, I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't had that experience, because how would I have become who I am, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations for being able to take such an awful, horrible, traumatic experience and turn it into something beautiful and build yourself up, as opposed to kind of letting that trauma dig you deeper, which I'm sure was not an easy process for you at all.
No.
But
yeah.
Congratulations, and that's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And now you have all this amazing music.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like on the way here, my one son was singing one of my songs, and he got the inflection right. He got I drop it down a couple notches on a one syllable word turns into 3 syllables, and he's 6, right? And he's singing it, and it's just like, oh, this is so good.
Got a little musician on your hands.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it's turned into something really, really fun. And, you know, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't go to work 8 hours a day. So a lot of people say, well, you're so busy, but how do you keep up with all this stuff? And I would just say, well, like, I don't have to donate 8 hours of my day to another corporation or something, right? It's all about the family, raising the family, keeping my house in order. And then I get this hobby on the side, which is really awesome. And the other cool thing is a lot of people that are where I am at in music are doing it for a living. And so the stakes are high, and my stakes are not high. So I really do get to enjoy it. I think I feel like I get to enjoy it a bit more so. So it's really nice.
What's that like for you? Like not having those high stakes of like, oh, this is my living, this is my lifestyle, like I have to do this thing.
Yeah.
And instead being in a point where it's something that you're enjoying and you're doing because you enjoy it.
You know, it's really different. Like it's like being on the ground level of like being on the earth versus being in a float plane versus being in a jet at high level. So you can really know what is important in life, I think, when you're at my stage of life. So there was a time, I think, when you're younger, your career is everything because you're building it, and until you get to a certain level, you need to focus on that, right? Only. But then after a while, it's like you see people living their lives and just by observing people, and you just think, you know, there is more to life. I remember sitting at my office desk thinking, like, there's got to be more to life than this. Like, really, like, I enjoyed my job for sure, and I reaped major rewards for it. Like, I had a really good job and got to travel and do lots of stuff, but I still felt like I was after something that I couldn't put my finger on it, right? And so I think the funny thing is that I knew I was creative from a young age, but I didn't know I was an artist. And only in the last 5 years have I really discovered how much of an artist I really am. And so, like, part of it is being exposed to other artists where I'm like, oh, wait, these are my people, right? There's that. But then there's also, like, the 9 to 5. I don't know if that would have ever satisfied me, to be honest. I'm way too much of a self-starter, so I never did feel like I was, like, swamped and I couldn't handle it. Because it was more of a, okay, we'll go do this and we'll do it well and we'll do it with a smile and then we'll actually get on with what we want to do, you know. And so I worked to live. Yeah, I told my boss one day, I said, I don't know if I can come in next week because I just have so many things on my social schedule. So it was pretty flexible, right? Like if you're like, I need to take my banked hours and use them on these days, and are your responsibilities looked after? I'm like, yeah.
Like, not that it really matters.
Well,
I need to use my bank
no,
time.
you need to
I'm
treat
just
your
kidding.
company like you own it, right? And that's what my boss told me. He's like, you're going to make decisions. I don't want you to come to me for advice unless you really need to. So run this company like it's yours. And I was like, I think it was the most empowering thing he could have said to me. I was like 24 years old, and I was like, I'm going to pretend this is all my money, and I'm responsible for it, and I'm earning it. And so it changed the way, like in a company where nobody wants to make any decisions because they don't want to be responsible for, this is a phenomenon I'm sure you've been exposed to, that people are like, well, I'll have to check with 4 different departments before I make that decision. And it's like, run it like it's your company, and you will make the right business decision, right, to make sure the business thrives.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great outlook to have.
It really-
And things would get done so much faster.
yes, and it's like, just be decisive, and then if in hindsight you make a mistake, I've put my hand up like this in a meeting with 40 people in the room, and someone said, well, who made that call? And I was like, that was me, and I would do it differently if I could go back in time. Yeah, and so like, I think I got major respect for that from people, because it was like, you know, I'm willing to just say, like, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And it was like $18,000 mistake, and oops.
Yeah, my
Okay.
dad always used to say, like, strength of your convictions. And so whatever you do, be able to own up to it and, you know, say that was me, I made that call.
Good, bad, or
whatever.
ugly, right? Yeah. And here's
Exactly.
why I made the call, and now with this other information, I would make it this way. And yeah, you go places with people. You have their respect too, right? So.
And you live and you learn, you know, everyone makes mistakes. Regardless of what you do for work, everyone has to start somewhere and learn and
actually,
get better.
that concept actually is also what helped me through this attack, because my brain was like paralyzed, right? Like I was stuck in this fight-flight mode. So one time, my first time going to town, which is a weekly thing where I go and grab groceries and do errands, and then I go home. And it's a marathon, because you can't go for just for the morning, right? Like it's all day pretty much. My first time going to town, I froze and I didn't know where to go first, because I had 5 places to go and I didn't know what order would be good. it was weird. So I saw some cop cars and I went and parked next to them because I felt safer. And then I called my victim services lady and started crying. And she was like, "Okay, so where do you need to go? I'll help you." And so it was really nice. But what she said, what you're experiencing is completely normal and expected and predictable. So you're not broken. Like, well, I was totally broken, but she said this is not abnormal. Like, this is completely normal. And so knowing that someone else has experienced this before, you're not the first one, and they have not all of them, but for the most part, like, you have the ability to recover, right? You have the ability to move on from this. It's not going to be forever, like you are in a state right now for sure. But yeah, you can put in the time and feel better. And so I held on to that, knowing that I'm not the first person to deal with a rural crime and how that feels, right? And so, yeah, it took me a good year to feel like I was kind of getting back to normal. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be standing at the kitchen sink, just vibrating, looking out the window, just seeing, are there lights out there that I can't see, stuff like that. And then if I talked about it with people, my hands would go numb. Like, I had major trauma issues. But I did this EMDR therapy, and I think I had like 3 sessions, and I was pretty much fixed up.
It's amazing.
It is. It's very cool. So if anyone out there is traumatized, try EMDR. Just put it into YouTube. There's a YouTube video you can do. You don't need, you could go to a therapist and get it done through a therapist, but you could actually put on the YouTube video and just watch this thing go across the screen back and forth. And what it does is it makes your eyes vibrate almost like you're in a REM cycle. And then you replay your bad event and try to stack up the things and the events in order. And then your brain will put it into its long-term memory and take it out of its short-term memory.
Oh, cool.
Isn't it? It's very cool. Yeah.
It's amazing. I didn't even know that was a thing, but it's interesting how your brain can rework itself and then
and you just have to rewire it and say, this is not currently happening, because that's what your brain is thinking, that if you think about the event and you have these, your hands go numb and stuff like that, your brain thinks it's happening again. And so, yeah, if you can put it into your long-term memory, then I can talk about it. My hands aren't numb. It's like very nice.
And you can move forward from it, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's what brought you back to writing now. But what initially, because you mentioned art and music, what initially got you into those things?
Into music?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a long-term spouse guy that I had, a boyfriend. And so he was from the south of Brazil. And so I fell in love with the culture and the music. And that's eventually, so I went through a conversation with him when we were together for 3 years, and I was 23 years old, and he said, no kids for 10 years. And I kind of just froze, and I was like, are those really your terms? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, I'm going to have to go. And I made that decision. It was a horrible time to make that decision, because I knew I wanted kids like sooner than later. And I did the bold thing, and I walked. And so I wrote a song about it, and I'll play it for you later. It's a bossa nova tune, so I don't know if you know Brazilian music, bossa nova and samba and stuff like that. But it's like a bossa nova love song. And but yeah, it was a bold decision that I don't regret. It was everything's all meant to be in the greater scheme of life, So he ended up with someone from his culture, which I think is a good fit for him, and same with me. So, but yeah, I really thought we were going to be together forever,
Yeah.
Once upon a time.
Young love.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So.
But it's amazing that, again, you're able to take that experience and then, you have those memories and it was fun and whatnot, but then you also have that song and...
Yeah, well, see, I was a music fan from the time, I knew, when I realized I was a music fan, I was 9 years old. And I got a couple cassette tapes at a garage sale. And all summer, I listened to those tapes over and over and over and over. And they were like polar opposites. One of them was Nat King Cole. The other one was Stompin' Tom Connors. And I just remember laying under the apple tree. It was right next to my window in my room, and I had like these corner windows, and the sun would come in, and I'd look up and see the apple tree blooming. And I just remember all summer just laying next to my little ghetto blaster. It would have been like 1992, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I realized I really liked music, but I didn't realize how much of a music fan I was. And I never played an instrument until I was 24.
Really?
So I was a huge, huge music fan all those years, not realizing, hey, I should make music.
Hey, I should do the thing that I love so much.
Yeah, so I was at an art market actually in Fort McMurray, and the lady next to me, I had met her a couple times. We were acquaintances, and she brought a classical guitar with her. So of course the art market, have you ever sat at a market trying to sell jam or something? Like, you are just sitting there all day, and not many people buy stuff. So anyhow, we visited, and she put her guitar in my hands, and she showed me a G chord, and then the next day I like went to the local music shop, and I went and got myself a little $129 classical guitar, and I thought, I'm gonna learn bossa nova. And so it was about a month in, and I thought, this is way too hard, you know?
Like, never mind.
Like all these jazz chords, I'm like, how do they do it? And so I went to visit my parents in my hometown, and my grandpa's songbook was all faded out because it was written in pen. And my grandpa, he kind of plays like the same 10 songs every year. He didn't play a lot when we were growing up, but just a little bit here and there. And so anyhow, I took his book and I photocopied it, like I darkened it on the photocopier because I knew all those tricks because I was an office girl at the time. And so I took it home and back to Fort McMurray, and over the course of 6 months, I typed out like over 100 songs, and then I put it in big bold letters for him, right? Because he was getting, I think he must have been in his 70s by then. So that's, and through the course of typing out all these songs, I was like, I know that song. And so I started doing all these old country songs, like Hank Snow, kind of old, like 1940s and 50s. And so that's really kind of like the genre that I always write in, is like the Patsy Cline genre. And then from there, I kind of have to like massage it into like a early 90s. That's modern for me. So yeah, most of my listeners are like 35 to 85. I was just on Spotify for artists, and it's like 20% of my listeners are 35 to 15 kind of range, and then 35 to and up is like 80% of my listeners. So yeah, kind of old school.
So Spotify, where else can folks listen to your music?
Oh yeah, all my stuff's on all the streaming services, and then I have my my YouTube channel, which I've merged my personal channel with my official artist channel. So everything's there. All my homemade videos. I used to go out in the evenings and shoot videos like near the hay bales or near the slough, because I have such beautiful rural property. I actually brought my CDs to show you, because a lot of the photos from there, they're all around my property, and it's really picturesque. So yeah, and then I have my official releases, and then the music videos. So my YouTube channel is kind of like my musical home there.
For everything.
Yeah.
That must be nice to be able to record these things and do all this stuff in the comfort of your own space, like on your property. And then it also adds that like homey touch, you know, because you're not going elsewhere to make the thing. For sure. Yeah. I know when I think of, well, what should I do for this music video or that music video? And, you know, I at one point I signed up for one of those websites where you can get video footage that's not copyrighted. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, that's not very clear, but anyhow, I signed up for one of those websites that you can get video footage that's free from copyright. And so I tried to do this video, and it's like, you know, a dark night, and it's raining, and then there's a car that drives by, and then I sing a line or something, and my husband said, you know, that's like a C video, probably not great. And I said to him, well, if only I had an old truck from the 70s and a gimbal and like someone to film me, and maybe even like an actor that's like a male in his 40s. Wouldn't that be perfect? And so he's like, fine. And same thing last summer, I needed, I took a video of me holding the camera running down a hill in the field that's
goodness.
uneven, right? And he says, well, it's a little shaky. And I use this image stabilization feature, and I really tried. And I said, if only I had a man on a quad with a gimbal, wouldn't that be perfect? And he's like, fine, we'll go out after lunch. So I'm like redoing my makeup really quick. And yeah, he filmed me from his quad, and then we were able to get a full body shot. And that's a video I released last summer called Healing Dirt. And just about how sometimes you just need to go off and be alone in the pasture, in a field, and how it really can set things straight, you know, if you're feeling angst about anything. So
it's really nice that you have, you know, your own personal videographer in your husband, and you can just kind of take him and be like, we're going to do this now.
Well, the thing is, I feel like I'm very much the director,
Yeah.
and you can't be the director and be on screen at the same time. So I have to give him very clear directions. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, let's do it one more time. But yeah, he'll take half an hour for sure, and then he's like, I got to go back to work. So fences need fixing. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, some of the videos have been really great. Some of them have been like, yeah, I could do that better, but I'll leave it up, you know, like, yeah.
Speaking more about the inspiration, you've spoken about events in your life. What else would you say inspires your music?
Definitely the people and the place that I live, 100%. Probably the relationships and emotions attached to different events. Yeah, I feel like I just want to tell stories of triumph and positivity. Like, I think I've written a couple songs that could have, well, my husband's like, well, do you really want to glorify that? And I'm like, yeah, there's enough crappy music out there about sad things. And of course, country music is like full of heartache, right? So I do have some sad songs, but for the most part, I feel like we just need to be uplifted. And the human experience is pretty hard. It's not it's a beautiful world, but it's very cruel, you know? So yeah, I really want to just encourage people to keep going after their dream, and to just to rest in knowing that the world is designed by an ultimate creator, and that we are here for a purpose, right? Because the minute people lose purpose in life, it just saps your joy. So there's bigger things at work than just us. So I think that's something that I can rest in. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful message to be spreading, because I completely agree with, especially social media and music and TV and all these things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sad things in the world.
Sad things and meaningless things, and just, you can see the emptiness in people a lot. I can see it anyhow. Sad to say that, but especially on social media, it's just like, if you see it for what it is, like, it's meant to be addictive. Most of it is clickbait. Most of it isn't like, oh, do you want to learn this? And it's like, no, they don't want to teach you anything. It's clickbait. They literally are trying to get your money. And I'm trying to instill that in my kids. Like, slowly they are being introduced to different forms of social media or devices in general. And I'm like, they're trying to get your money. They're trying to keep your eyes on the screen no matter what. And so they're like, what's that, Mom? And I'm like, that's clickbait. Don't touch that. Like, you need to be aware that it's meant to be addictive. And adults are losing their lives over it. Really, like, there are adults who are aware that it's meant to be addictive, and they are slowly losing their productivity looking at a screen, you know, looking at Candy Crush Saga. Literally, right?
No
and
hate
it's
to
like,
Candy Crush, but
people
yeah.
say, how do you get it all done? And I'm doing Latin every day now too, and it's like, my friend said, oh, I just can't believe it. And I'm like, well, how many hours a day do you waste?
Good for you. Call them out.
Yeah, he was like, well, I'm gonna have to let you go, and I'm like, yeah, I bet you are. I'm like, okay, that was too real. I need to.
Like, sorry, I'll dial it back.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but yeah, like, we waste hours and hours of our lives, right? And I just feel like I'm finally at that high level altitude where I'm like, that's what's important, right? It's people, it's relationships, it's helping the next generation to come up into themselves and know that most of the uncomfortable things that they're experiencing is completely normal. They're not weird. And I think that that's half of the battle of growing up, is knowing that you're not the first person to go through this, right? And growing up is tough. So yeah, it's partly motherhood, and it's partly just like, I had a horrible time when I was like 16 to 22. I was a train wreck. I'm very lucky to be alive. So
I think we're all a bit of a train wreck from 16 to 22. I'm 23 now, so I can say
you're
that.
through, high five. Okay. Your brain will be fully developed any time now.
Perfect.
Yeah,
There we go.
you know,
See?
you have to be 24 to 25 before your frontal lobes actually attach, and you have all the logic and reasoning all ready to go.
Oh, wow.
So I remember turning 25, and I turned to my roommate and I said, I feel like I've been around the block or something. And she's this like elderly Irish lady. She's like, well, your frontal lobes are finally attached, you know. And I'm like, what? But it was like a stark difference that my perspective just completely shifted, especially even in the office. I just felt like something was different. So yeah, better days are yet to come.
And they don't tell you that, I feel like.
I know, they really don't, you know, and I feel like there's a lot of competitiveness in life. And
especially to do things while you're young, I feel like, too.
Well, on one hand, you need to keep the bar a little too high so that you keep reaching for it. But on the other hand, it's like, can't we just all be friends and share our secrets? Like my grandmother, who doesn't watch TV anyhow, she'll never see this. She won't share her recipes, so they will die with her. I'm like,
oh, wow.
What's the point of that?
Yeah.
Like, don't you want
like, not even with you?
No.
Oh.
She won't share her recipes. She might have a favorite grandchild that she shared them with, but I am not that grandchild.
Oh.
So I'm just thinking like she wants to be famous for her recipes, and I get that, but it's like...
You're like, but when the time comes, don't you want them to continue on?
No, she wants it to be like, no one ever made it quite as good as that lady.
I mean, fair enough. I'm like... I see
well,
it.
and yeah, you can't. I tell my kids, you can't control people. We're not communists here. Like everyone's free to make their own choices, but at the same time, it's like, you know what, woman to woman, like this is reality, and you know, like life is gonna get hard, and it's gonna get better, and it's gonna ebb and flow, and like some years are gonna be easier than others, and it doesn't mean that it's abnormal, right? Like even marriages, like if it's not hard, it's not worth fighting for, right? Like.
That's an interesting concept to have. I like that. We were discussing on our drive here that we were talking about, I don't know if you've ever seen Perfect Match on Netflix.
No.
It's a very, it's an interesting reality show. No hate to Netflix or Perfect Match or any of those shows like that. But basically, it's a house full of single folks, and they match together. They'll be like, do you want to be my match for the week or whatever? And then throughout the process, they can match with different people. Yeah. Anyway, I swear I have a point. We were discussing how a lot of the times when things get hard in that relationship, they'll just unmatch and match with someone else.
Right.
And it's like, but in order to have a good, solid relationship, you should be able to work through these things, as you were saying. If it's not like hard, it's not worth fighting for. But these people are just like, it's hard. We're not meant to be. We're not compatible. And I'm like, I wouldn't say that.
Well, and then they say like the arranged marriages, like in the Amish communities, are like 100% more, they have more longevity than the ones that we choose for ourselves. And it's like, well, what's that? And then, you know what it is? It's like they are told, you will get married, you will live together for the rest of your lives. And they say, yes, I will. And when you make that like decision, it doesn't matter how hard things get, because you are matched together and you will make it work, right? And so, yeah, when two reasonable people agree to make it work, then they make it work.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I found going on different vacations with different people. I did a lot of vacationing alone, but what I wanted was someone to go on vacation with back to back to back to back, so that I could like, I found like I had all these different suitors over the years, but I couldn't talk about different vacations with my current flavor of the day or whatever. Because, well, like, it was like long-term relationships, right? Like, it was a year and a half or 3 years with this person, 3 years with that person. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it was just like, I would like someone to go on vacation with for the rest of my life. Like, someone who I can share the story and build the story, right? And there's a richness to living through good and living through bad and coming out the other side and having that conversation. Whereas if you're just a solo person having random conversations with random people, it's like, well, yeah, it's nice to, I guess I just wanted to settle down.
Like, I've had my fun, but I just want one.
yeah, for sure, yeah. So it's funny, hey?
Yeah. What was that process like? Because you've been, as you were saying, vacationing a lot and in a lot of different I'm assuming, cultures and music flavors and things like that. So what was that like for you as an artist?
Yeah, I think it really kind of helped me develop my eclectic flavor. Yeah, because I really like the old school country. And then through my 16 to 22, that rough period, I was like super psychedelic, and I really like Leonard Cohen and all those different things that are super, I want to say like eccentric almost, right? And then I got into the Brazil phase, and then I went to Chicago, and I was hanging out with this band there and went to different events down there a couple times. So yeah, and then there's the down home country music again, keeps coming around, and people will comment on my music and say, well, you know, have you ever listened to Joni Mitchell? And I'll say, well, no, not really. And then I put her on, and I'm like, oh, she's pretty good. But then by the end of the record, I'm like, hey, I can't believe, I'm glad it's over, you know, because she's so whimsical. It's overwhelming, right? Like, actually, it was the Brazilian guy that pointed out to me that he said, you are so, what is the word? Like, I could use music as a medicine. Because he'd come in the room, and I'd be like really sad and lethargic, and I'd be listening to this depressing music, and he's like, why don't you change the music? And it was amazing how much I was wired with the music. So I would change it to a happy song, and like within 60 minutes, completely different mood. And I thought, wow, I'm what's a shapeshifter or something, like totally a little bit kooky, I think. But once I realized that, then I used it as a tool after that. And so I really, like, I was diagnosed with all sorts of things actually, and then I was on heavy medications for it, and that didn't help me. Like, I floundered, I was on welfare, like I gained 100 pounds and stuff like that. And so eventually I just said, maybe I should go off all the meds and try to adapt to the world instead of having, you know, all these Band-Aids. And so I just totally rejected everything that they had said over me. And I started exercising and leaning into the arts a little bit. And then now I'm just
thriving.
Yeah, totally. So it was really, really surprising. You know, for every medication we take, there's side effects that we can't even list and we don't even know about. So that's my experience with medication. I would try everything until you're desperate. Yeah, and that includes like measuring your water every day, going for a walk every day, doing all the basics. If you're not doing the basics, you don't have any business taking medication.
That's what my mom says too.
Way to go, Mom!
Good job, Mom, if you're watching this.
Yeah. It's like, well, did you go to sleep when the sun went down, and did you wake up when the sun went up? Because if you can't do those things, like, yeah, I knew a girl that she was a night owl, and I'm like, okay, so you can't drink enough, you can't eat enough. You need to just follow the sun and just try to go to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how things that we think are so small, like, you know, getting sleep, drinking water, going outside, or taking a walk, are so influential on our bodies and how they feel and everything like that.
Yeah.
Especially art too. Like, art is therapeutic, and I think kind of what you're speaking about your mood being able to change with music is proof of that. Of these things and these outlets are, I don't know.
They're intertwined, and it's something like I don't want to get too philosophical, but like we're very logic-based, our society, and it's like, well, is there science to back it up? And it's like, you know what? I don't need science sometimes. I know that there is a connection between, like, I used to put on, the kind of music that I would put on would produce different paintings. So there's that, right? Like, depending on the genre of jazz, I would have more swoopy stuff versus more, I almost was going to bring a couple canvases, but then I thought, oh, I have enough stuff in my vehicle already.
You should have. But
yeah, I totally should have. I have some crazy pieces of art, and then I have some ones that are like, I wonder if I was listening to Astrud or Berta when I did that song, that painting. Yeah.
Just send some photos. We'll insert them in here
cool.
and there.
Yeah, I can send you a few.
I completely agree, though. Have you seen Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams?
I feel like I saw it like ages ago.
It's
Yeah.
really good. But I was just going to say, because you're mentioning like society being so logic-based, there's a quote, I think I quote it every single episode that we do. But anyway, it talks about how like music, art, and poetry are what we stay alive for versus like science being the thing that, sure, it's necessary to sustain life, but the arts are what you're staying alive for. It's what you need, and that sort of idea. So I just think that's kind of fun. But.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's the folk artists and the folk musicians have expressed culture in a way that books just don't do it justice, right? Whether it's through song or through paintings or whatever. It's really, it helps keep cultures alive. So it's pretty meaningful stuff.
Yeah. Like, in that meaningfulness, what would you say is the most rewarding part of creating your own music or performing or anything like that?
You know, I remember the sense of like, I don't know if euphoria, what the word would be, but I just thought, you know, when I first started writing, I just thought, wow, like 20 minutes ago that song didn't exist and now it does. And then, you know, a couple months later it's on an album and I'm listening to it on Spotify and I'm like, wow, like to be a creator, I just feel like it was what I was made to do. Yeah. Because there's like next to no money in music unless you're a touring musician, which it's kind of hard to tour when you have family. I do try to perform here and there, but like it's more of a hobby that you sink money into without even caring because it's so rewarding, right? And so, yeah, to erect something that wouldn't exist without you is a pretty cool experience.
That's a really cool way of looking at it too, because I think that just maybe reminds the individual of how important they are, because other people can write music, but nobody's going to write music the way you write music, you know,
Right.
from your experience, from your like outlook on things.
It's all a very unique flavor. Even if people say, oh, you remind me of this person or that person, it's like, well, that person didn't write it, I did.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing is that just knowing that it's your interpretation, it's based off of your experiences, and everything in life has culminated up to this moment for you to write this chord progression, you know? And it sounds cheesy, but it's just like, yes, it feels so good when you find something that you feel like it clicks. And then I like this one song, I played the chord progression through for like a year, and that doesn't happen very often, but I really did over and over before I finally got all the lyrics, and they just blurted out on the paper within the course of 24 hours. And I wrote this whole, and it was just like, oh, like it's almost like the clouds parted and I could hear the angels sing.
You're like, this is it, it's the moment.
Yeah. So that's actually some songs I kind of like think hard and I logically try to put it together, and then other songs, it's like a download from heaven. And I know that sounds totally cheesy, right? But I went to these songwriting circles, and other people have it too, where they feel like they aren't even thinking, but they are just letting the moment happen. And it's literally like, I feel like in a sense, all songs are already written, and we just catch them.
Aww.
As they're floating around. As songwriters, we're like, ooh, I feel a spirit of whatever. And yeah, I know that sounds really cheesy, but yeah, I feel like sometimes it's divinely inspired, and I don't even have to try. Like my first album, I called it The Road, and I knew it was going to be called that before I even was like, I'm gonna make this a CD. Like I just knew that's what it was going to be called, and so it was very natural. I didn't think about it. I didn't fret about it. So,
would you say that the majority of the work that you do is that way? Of you don't think too much about it? It just falls and then happens?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Like I think what happens is most of it falls, and I write the first verse and the chorus and the melody all at the same time. And then usually the second verse, then I get more logical. And I'm like, okay, let's think about this. What am I trying to convey? And kind of ask myself those questions. And so, yeah, the first verse and chorus always is naturally just
comes out.
Downloaded from the heaven. And then, yeah, the second or third verse, I kind of have to think about it sometimes.
What advice would you have for aspiring singer-songwriters?
Oh my, I will give the best advice I ever got was I was on a Zoom call with a songwriting group in New Jersey. They meet every other Thursday. And the guy's like, so you present your song, you give people lyrics, and they all follow along, and then they all give you advice back. And the one guy, some guy gave me advice, and I said, okay. And, you put it in your back pocket. You might use it, might not. And then the other guy got up and he says to me, remember, the first rule of songwriting is that it's your song and nobody else's business. You don't have to take anyone's advice. And it was like so freeing to hear that. That it's like, yes, I am the boss and this is my song. And unless it's like an official co-write, I'm the boss. And so, yeah, these song circles have been really great because you can give each other advice, but there's a clause at the beginning that says these are all your songs. Even if you get advice from the group, they don't own any of it. So that's kind of nice.
That's very nice.
Yeah. So there's a couple of those circles. There's one out of Edmonton that they were doing online during COVID, and they were doing them actually up until probably 2023-ish. And they still kind of bounce back and forth, but mostly I get the emails now and it's always at this guy's apartment in Edmonton, so I'm like kind of sad about that.
Like, I'm not going all the way to Edmonton.
No, it's like a 3-hour drive. So yeah, but I've been going to these bluegrass jam camps, and there's like no instructor, and there's 4 different jam rooms, and it's Friday night till Sunday afternoon, and you just play, or you can pair up with people and go write a song.
Cool.
And they're all like my people. They're
Yes,
all
I was gonna say.
artsy people. Yeah, and all of them are most of them are pretty talented on their instruments. I'm definitely at the bottom in the talent department for my guitar.
I mean, I would say you're still very talented, though.
Well, for every good guitarist, there's like 10,000 bad ones, right? So I'm definitely on the borderline. I'm quite limited, and I actually just decided in April that I'm going to start guitar lessons because I feel like I don't have enough tools in my toolbox.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I just thought, you know what? I think I need to up my game a little bit there.
I mean, I can't even play guitar, so I'm like, wow, you're so good. I
was going to bring instruments for you, and then I was like, well, I don't know. And
like, I don't want to embarrass her too much.
Yeah, well, it can get complicated. And then I thought about writing a song with you too. I had all these ideas, and so I tuck my kids in at night. What do you think if I do this? And my 11-year-old will tell me what she thinks. She said, it could be risky, Mom.
She's like, you don't know the talent that this girl isn't going to have.
Well, and yeah, there's a local guy here that does that on stage.
Like write songs with people?
Yeah, like and they shout it out in the crowd.
Oh, wow.
And I just think like, you could do it that way. But I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. He asked me to do it with him one time, and I was like, no. I think I could do it, but I don't think I will,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like,
You might end up with a song that's okay, probably not a great one, right?
if we're being honest.
Everybody has different ideas, and even like my husband, he has good ideas of what the song should mean, like what the phrases, what you're trying to convey in the phrases, but he doesn't have the syllables that, or, you can leverage like syllables, alliteration, which is like words that start with the same, which some people don't even know that.
No, totally.
Or rhyming, hard rhyme, soft rhyme. And so there's people out there that, forget these things, and I've had people send me lyrics and they're like, can you set this to music for me? And I'm like, I read through it, I'm like, no. There's no rhymes, there's no rhythms. And I thought, well, I could, but I'd have to rewrite it, so I don't know.
Can I edit it?
Yeah.
Can we co-write it, maybe?
Yeah. Well, actually, a local
work?
guy here sent me a really nice, heartfelt poem, and I told him, like, I know this means a lot to you. He wrote it about his wife who passed away, but I said, do you mind if he said, do whatever you want. And I was like, perfect. So I X'd this and and then I reversed his sentences a little bit. And I think it might be on my next album.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it will be a co-write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
But it's something like raw that someone gave you from a real state of emotion. And so it's very believable, right? That knowing where it came from. And yeah, having to just massage it a little bit to make it more musical. It came up with some really cool chord progressions for it, so it's fun.
I think music is, I don't want to say better because it shouldn't be evaluative, but when music is authentic and vulnerable and people really get the emotion from it. I just think
Yeah.
it's really touching, as
Yeah.
opposed to songs that, you know, don't really mean anything. Like, sure, they might be catchy, but if it, I don't know, I feel like music and art itself is just such a powerful tool to like inspire people and help people and
Yeah.
reach people, that it's like,
Yes.
why wouldn't you want to say something worth saying? You know? I don't know.
Amen. That's awesome. Yeah, I actually told my producer, I said, I want to have a wider audience. You know, I don't want to be stuck in Loretta Lynn kind of stuff. So help me be more folky. And he did that with the last album. Really, it went really, really well. And then the next album I have written, I kind of have 2 albums, and I don't know what to do, and kind of mulling it over. And I said, I want to reach a wide audience, so I want it to be folky and a wider folk swath than Western folk. But so then I said, who are some modern voices I should listen to? And he named like half a dozen people. And he said, I know you're rolling your eyes. And I'm like, I'm literally rolling my eyes as I read this. So then I put it on, and my kids yesterday, they're like, what is this, Mom? And I'm like, I'm just giving it 30 minutes. We're just going to listen to this. And I can see like the chord progressions and the syllables that you emphasize. I can get behind that in a modern sense, but I will never sell out. And the content of the songs was absolutely pathetic. I could never put out a song that's so shallow, you know? But then I can't say, never mind. I take it back. Because there is something nice about shallow songs. Simple songs. I wrote a song, it's not shallow, but it's called Hello Little Bird. And it's like about these birds that like flew in front of my vehicle. And so I would consider that not shallow, but simple. So I guess they have their place. But yeah, that's what I like about the arts. And music is like, it's very subjective, and it's based on how you feel at the moment, and if the sun's shining or if it's cloudy, and it's just really experiencing life on a different level.
It really is. And I think it's interesting that artists can relate to that so much, and I find it even more interesting that sometimes people don't understand it. You know, like if you talk to, I always call them straight line kind of people, like people who aren't into the arts whatsoever and are very analytical. Yes, it's like I'll say something and they'll be like, I don't understand, and I'm like, yeah, never mind. Because you know, you can only.
It's too far.
Exactly, it's a stretch. Sorry, I'll dial it back.
Yeah,
I'll dial it
yeah.
back. But
I know. First time I made guacamole, my father-in-law was like, "What's that?" He's like, meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Meat and potatoes. Keep it
it's
simple.
like, no, don't mix it up. Don't change.
Yeah.
And that works to an extent for sure. And I think sometimes folks like that are able to like dip into things and have some fun with things. But
yeah, well, like my husband, his background is in mechanical engineering, and he's a farmer. And so like living out there, they are very literal. So if you have skills that are like landscaping or garden design, stuff like that, those are your artsy things on the farm. But to be an artist on the farm doesn't really work too well. Yeah, like I have like all these wind chimes I put up, and like one by one my husband took them all down, and I was like, come on, like, and I think he didn't want it to become a hippieville, maybe, or something like that.
like, he's like, it's too much.
Well,
It's too
he
much.
said it was making lots of noise.
You're like, it's almost like that was the point. That's crazy.
Right?
What?
I know, but we're on a hill and we have no shelter belt, so I kind of get his point, because
fair.
then it's like blowing, like they're going to be destroyed, really. So yeah, I hang them up in the house now.
But you still get them.
But yeah,
so
he's
compromise.
super analytical, and yeah, the people, the farmer types, I think they kind of just look at me and they're like, okay.
But that's okay. You
It
know?
is, yeah.
That's appreciated as opposed to like crazy. You know what I mean? When people are like judgmental.
Yeah,
in
if
that
they won't
sense.
look and they'll walk
Exactly.
the other way, they don't do that.
Good.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely feel like my skills are not as tangible as they should be.
I think though, I don't know if I would say that. I would say that, I mean, I met you today, but I would say your skills and artists in general skills are far more malleable than maybe some of those analytical skills, and people don't give them enough credit.
It's way more dynamic.
Exactly. And it's like, exactly. And it's like, you know, as an artist, as someone who can do so many things, you know, you spoke about painting and playing an instrument and writing a song, like there's so many skills in each of those things that you can put to like a 9-to-5 job, you know, that are things that you'll excel at, whereas some people who don't have those skills wouldn't be able to excel. But I mean, everyone's different. Everyone has wonderful skills and all that jazz. But anyway, coming back to you and your music, where do you hope to be with your music or in your guitar skills, say 5 years from now?
You know, I would really like to be way better on the guitar for sure. I'd like to be able to perform without my binder, because right now if I go, there's a downtown street festival in Lloydminster, and I go there for an hour at a time, and I have a binder set up and I'm playing, and I'm thinking, like, wouldn't it be great if I had an hour's worth of material memorized? Like, that would be nice. I'd like to get that. So I have like 4 songs memorized right now.
Nice.
So that I'm like, well, the only way to memorize them is to play them over and over again. So I thought I should probably make time in my day. So I have a little calendar, and I put, you know, F for fiddle, and then how many minutes, and then I put G for guitar, how many minutes, and kind of helps me stay on top of things, because once you have kids and you're doing laundry and you're doing meals and you're doing parts runs and all this stuff, like all the stuff could fall by the wayside. And I know if I don't keep track, I could not play an instrument for 2 weeks straight. And like, how sad is that, right?
Yeah.
So
you mentioned that you didn't have, you know, that 8-hour job, like 8 hours given to a corporation, but you do have 8 hours given to, you know, your
way more
home. And, that, I feel like being parent alone is just like a full-time job, and so music as well, like you're balancing a lot, so amazing.
Yeah, but you know, you grow into it, right? I couldn't have just been plunked all these things all at the same time. It's kind of like year after year, like, I can handle that, and then I'm going to do some volunteerism too. I'm going to join a board, because who joins boards nowadays? Like, do you know anyone your age that's on a board?
No.
So these things don't run themselves, right? And the boards are going to die, which means the organizations could die. And so think about joining a board. If it's something that is in alignment with your creativity and it's in your best interest that this organization continues. So I'm on the board for the Wild Rose Old Time Fiddlers in Edmonton. Wow. And they gave me a job that I can do on the computer. Nice. And so it's like I get emails from people, I input them into a spreadsheet, and then I reply. And, you know, it's really easy. So I don't get to be part of their Monday night community where they get $5 fiddle lessons every week, which would be so cool.
They should put them on Zoom for you. What the heck?
Well, yeah, I would. You know, it's like not
Maybe
the same.
One day.
Not
fair.
the same.
That's
no,
fair.
I go to their camps, so they have fiddle camps.
Oh, nice.
So they have one in February and then one in August.
Cool.
So I usually just go to the February one, and I take my kids with me. But yeah, like I thought I should just join a couple boards, and you know, the housewives volunteering on boards is almost like a thing of the past, and so all these boards have a lot of people that aren't going to be here 10 years from now, and so it's very sad. So the younger generation really needs to get more involved in community stuff, because otherwise we won't have community. So not to lay a guilt trip on you or anything.
I'm like, oh man, I really have to step up my game.
Just think about it, you know, in the next few years, you know, maybe by the time you're 30, you can juggle a job and your bills and your maybe a relationship, and then maybe you can juggle some more, right? Like you just slowly take it on.
Yeah.
So
I know it's hard at this point in life for folks to be working a job that kind of pays you enough to be like living a life.
I know so many people have like 2 jobs or more.
It's crazy the world we're living in, but that's besides the point.
That is, we could talk about that a long time.
We could dig right into that. Yeah. That's some meat and potatoes for sure.
I don't know if we should. TELUS probably wouldn't want us to talk about that stuff. Too many taxes. Okay.
Community though, what would you say is your favorite part about the community in Lloydminster?
They're pretty friendly. Like I take my kids to a superstore every week. I know this is super cheesy, but I try to tell my kids about the world through my eyes, because that's like what I have to offer, right? And so I don't know what they think sometimes. You know, they don't have any anchor because they're new, right? So you're like, well, do you know there's someone that owns the store and is responsible for the whole store and bringing the food here? Like we have our food on the farm. Like we're not like most people. We don't get everything from the store, but so then they have the owner's face like plastered up at customer service, right? And so I've got the kids to read his name out loud, and then sometimes we'll see him and he'll be like, there's the entrepreneur that's, you know, working every day, and you think, oh, if he owns the store, he's well off, but he's not. He's not in a luxury apartment, having cigars or whatever. He's on the floor working with his employees. He's a people person. He recently had a birthday because I'm friends with his wife on Facebook now.
Oh, that's so cute.
And like every time we see him, we're like, hey, there's the owner, and we all go say hi, you know. And so I feel like I've had those kind of interactions on more than one occasion. And yeah, I live on the farm, and so it's hard. I don't do a lot of social stuff here, so I just thought I should just run a song circle, and I'll just put up posters, and then I can meet people. And so I've been doing that, and yeah, it's been really great meeting people, and then you see them out and about sometimes at Superstore. I'll run into people, and it's amazing how many people will say hi.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Super simple. They're like, okay, Tuesday, or no, was it I was doing Thursday nights at 7 at Second Cup all winter, like from September till the end of April, rain or shine. I will go there. Even if it's bad weather, I'll just drive slow, because if I go there and someone else shows, or if I don't go due to weather and someone goes there, I would feel so bad. Oh, yeah. So I just figured I'll just go whether I know people are coming or not. And there's only been one time where no one came, and it was me and my dad. My dad was visiting. So me and my dad sat there and wrote a song together. Aww. And it turned out to be a great evening. But usually I do have like between 3 and 8 people come out to our little song circle.
That's so fun.
It is, yeah.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
And then last question. It doesn't have to be specific to songwriting. I know you'd mentioned best advice songwriting-wise, but what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life, just in general? It can be literally anything.
Wow. You ask everybody this question?
Yes,
yeah.
It's my favorite question.
Oh, life is a journey, and yeah, we're just all on our own journey, and you're not the first person to deal with this, and you won't be the last. Continue and do better every day.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show. So I'll just show you my CDs. So all these photos were taken around my farm. Aww. This is my first one. It was a cover CD that I did back in 2016. Yeah, turn it around. This is our wedding anniversary. My husband took me for a horsey ride. And so this was not planned to be a CD photo, right? So it was just what I had. And same with this one. I didn't plan to make the CD, so I didn't have any really good photos. But then after I did this, this lady friend that used to work at the Mom and Tots group, she said, I think that you need professional photos. And she handed me a gift certificate. And so since then, I got some really nice photos taken. This one was in my car, so it's kind of, but yeah, her daughter came out, and
those are so nice,
aren't they? So I've done all my own CD design ever since then.
Oh, cool.
Well, my friend took this one. Wow. And so, and also my last 4 CDs, I do a lyric insert book with all my CDs. And
cool.
Yeah, this is my most recent one that is not fully released. I'm just releasing one song every month, or yeah, the first Friday of every month I'm releasing a song off this album for the whole year.
That's so Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was having so much fun doing the music videos. I was only going to release 3 or 4 songs and then just let the whole album be gone. And then I thought, you know what? I'll just do one song every month because I've been having so much fun doing the music videos. So anyhow, and then this is a CD I did of fiddle tunes that I've written.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've actually had my instructors at fiddle camp and other people that are professionals, they perform them for me. So I just give them...
Cool.
Yeah. So like I love the fiddle, and this is me holding my fiddle, but I didn't perform the songs. I just wrote them. So, but I thought it was like still worth publishing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had a variety of people record the songs, and so that's my fiddle CD. And I just thought... I kind of recorded them without thinking about it. I didn't know what I was doing. And so then I had a friend give me a consultation for the CD. And he said, why don't you make this CD as a $5 bonus?
Oh, Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. I just thought, okay, it's not really for sale unless you buy my Deep Sigh CD, and then they could upgrade for $5. So.
And then get all the fiddle tunes.
Yeah, right. If they're fiddle fans.
Yeah.
But not everyone's a fiddle fan, so.
I mean,
yeah, it's fair, right?
I guess. My family really likes like fiddle tunes and that sort of
Okay.
music, so I'm like, how are you not? But
I know. Well, you know what?
get
My
people
husband, my husband will actually skip those songs on.
Really?
He says it's too repetitive because you play the fiddle tune, you play it A-A-B-B, so you play the 4 lines and then you play them again, and then you play 4 more lines and play them again, and often one of the lines in the B part is a repeat from the A part, so it is quite, there's a formula, and I can understand what he's saying, even though I think it's darn rude, but that's okay. And so the other thing I brought you is, I don't know how I feel about this. I asked my daughter if she thought it was pompous of me, but she said, no, Mom. So this is my International Female Album of the Year for 2022. I won through the International Singer-Songwriter Association.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's the one album I don't have for you to look at.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I was in the vehicle and I thought, did I grab all the albums? I don't think I did. And so this is for my album Pause and Pine. Yeah. So it was a big deal. And I'm actually up for 4 more awards this year. And I'll be going down to Atlanta, Georgia. Whoa,
wow.
At the end of August. So I'll be going for the awards show they have on August 24th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so exciting.
It really is. I didn't think I was going to go. And then I had a fan from Virginia Beach, Virginia, message me and say, are you going? I said, I don't think so. And he's like, are you kidding? After we voted for you for the whole month of April, you better get on a plane. And he gave me heck. And I told my husband, he's like, yeah, we better go.
It's a big deal.
I know, but it's like, flights and hotel and all this stuff. And then the farm and then the kids. And it's like, it's a big deal for us to leave for 4 or 5 days. But yeah, we just booked our flights yesterday. So. Yeah, we're pretty excited about that.
We'll have to keep in touch and get updated on how.
Yeah, maybe I'll have another Crystal Trophy. That'd be really great. Yeah,
it would be.
So I'll sing you my bossa nova tune that I wrote back in the day. This is probably one of the first songs I ever wrote, and I don't think I have any other bossa tunes. So it's called Moments in Time. Pretend you're on the beach. How do you hang on to those moments in time? No one would ever understand, 'cause they're kinda hard to define. Pulling driveway weeds in the heat of the sun. Our shadows only touch for a moment, and instantly we were one. We were one. The hours would pass right by, with so few words spoken, content in your arms. We were always joking. I'll always hold on to you and those moments we shared. Though time passed me by, still nothing compares to you. To you. Yesterday is gone away, but you linger in my mind. You're like the sun on a clear blue day, or tea and steam intertwined. I think about that more often than I should. I wonder what you're doing now. If you're being good. How do you hang on to those moments in time? Thanks.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for performing that for us.
Did it take you back to the moment?
Yes, it did. It did.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. That's a win. Well, thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that and the chat. It's you're so amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, right on. It was a good time.
Hey everyone, we just finished up with Caroline, and that was so much fun.
She's so interesting. And I'd love to hear her talk even more. Like, I was so intrigued by everything she was saying and all of her life experiences and how she's like encapsulated that into her songs and her journeys and all that kind of stuff, and just how much she's went through. So I thought that was very, very cool to hear it. And she's a beautiful voice and some beautiful tunes, so you guys should definitely check that out. But
yeah, I think you said everything. Go check her out. She's great.
She really is. And like Sahar was saying, so many life experiences, so many things, and so inspiring in her ability to do all the things that she loves and, you know, do them as a hobby, as like a side thing, as opposed to, you know, how she was saying, like, you have to do like music full time for it to be like a real job. And like, she's traveling to Atlanta, as she was telling us, for an award show, and I'm like, that's so cool. Like, something that she's just doing, you know, for fun because she loves it, and it's inspiring other people too, which is beautiful. So yeah, check her out, Spotify, Apple Music, all that jazz.